I found it less daunting standing at the foot of Cho Oyu and looking up at that 8,000 meter peak than standing in front of you guys tonight. So please bear with me, I'm not a speaker, so let's have a go. My affection for and fascination with mountains started with a book about Everest. Everest was but a vague dream. I did recognize, however, that a 1,000-mile journey starts with one step. With no mountain climbing experience, my first choice for a summit was Kili. It does not require any special knowledge, equipment, or training, so I chose the Machame route as it is one of the most suitable routes to acclimatize adequately. It traverses rainforest, moorland, alpine desert, and scree slopes to reach the summit. Next, I chose Aconcagua, as it is being regarded as one of the easier of the 7 summits. I did the most commonly used route, the so-called normal route. Most of the route is simply hiking up a trail and plodding up scree slopes, similar to Kili, but it is more demanding, with Ak being 1,200 meters higher and much colder. Aconcagua is nicknamed the Mountain of Death because of its high death rate of 22%. The majority of deaths are caused by high-altitude cerebral or high-altitude pulmonary edema. During my expedition, a team member was helivaced off the mountain with fluid in his lungs. He had a serious case of pulmonary edema. Although there are no permanent snowfields on Aconcagua, double boots, crampons, and ice axes are required, and this was a first for me. Double boots are definitely not your comfortable mall shoes, but they are designed for extreme conditions and perform well in the rocky scree terrain and extreme cold of Ak. Mount McKinley, also known as Denali or the High One, seemed the next most doable of the 7 summits to me. Denali presents brutally cold and extreme weather and has an element of technical climbing. So it required me to do some serious shopping to upgrade my gear, including high-altitude mountaineering boots and a minus 40-degree sleeping bag. Denali was a huge learning experience for me. I was unfamiliar with terms such as glacier traveling, crevasses, seracs, and bergschoens. And before the actual climb, I went to Alaska for a preparation course. I learned to travel in a rope team, and this is to protect us from the grave dangers of crevasses. It required some skill to keep the correct tension in the rope. I was also shown how to cut snow blocks from the ice and build snow walls to protect the tent from high winds. I also did practical crevasse rescue. Denali has some very steep ice slopes, and I was familiarized with the use of jumas and a cow's tail for ascending and descending on fixed ropes. Harness, jumas, and carabiners were now added to my gear list. The average trip length for a successful ascent on the popular West Buttress is 18 days. There are no porters, so the team share the responsibility of carrying food, tents, cooking utensils, etc. The load is spread between your backpack and a sled. To prepare myself for the sled pulling, I trained with my bull terrier, a red 4x4 tire, much to the amusement of my neighbors. What goes up must come down, and I've experienced that the descent is just as hard and sometimes more dangerous than the ascent. Descending on most mountains are more rapidly and continuously. You are mentally and physically spent and have to be very careful, especially on the technical stuff. Denali was ideal preparation for Mount Vinson. The knowledge, skill, and technical exposure came in very handy. We used sleds, traveled in rope teams, and used the same ascending and descending techniques on the head wall with its fixed ropes. My cold weather gear was tested to the ultimate, as Mount Vinson is rated as the coldest of the 7 summits. Hypothermia and frostbite were constant hazards, and the proper layering of clothes, gloves, and covering of the face was absolutely essential. Carsten's pyramid challenged my fear of heights to the ultimate degree. Denali and Vinson have exposed ridges, but nothing compared to what faced me on Carsten's. Carsten's is rated as technically the most difficult of the 7 summits. My technical climbing skills were inadequate, so I took a rope course with Roland Mack of the Joburg Mountaineering Club. We used the harrow or the normal route, and it ascends mostly solid limestone rock up the north face to a long jagged ridge, which is followed to the summit. The exposed ridge poses the most difficult climbing section, including a Tyrolean traverse, and that was my nemesis. A Tyrolean traverse is a method of crossing free space between two high points on a rope, using your hands or legs or a pulley system. Looking into the void while hanging off a piece of twine made my pants shake violently. The guide noticed this and he wanted to know if I was cold. So I just said, no, I'm just shit scared. So in August last year, I had somewhat of a different mountain to climb. I woke up to billowing smoke one morning. My house was on fire. A month later, the opportunity came along to climb Cho Oyu. I did not hesitate to sign up. It promised a view of Everest from the summit and a similar climb to Everest, just at a fraction of the price. Mandy Ramsden agreed to lend me all the gear I lost in the fire. Although it's described as one of the easier 8,000-meter peaks, like all high-altitude climbs, it's not to be underestimated. There are some very technical and exposed sections. Denali and Mount Vincent introduced me to expedition-style climbing. Slow climbing, multiple camps, caching of food, fixed lines, climb high, sleep low. But Cho Oyu used all of this, just with the additional challenge of oxygen supplementation. An enduring memory is the frozen corpse, waving Bob, as Sean referred to him, who reminded one that attention to detail is what gets you up and down the mountain. The relaxed, confident, and skilled Sean always made sure that we were doubled up and properly clipped in before ascending or descending any rope sections. Summer day, with its spider web of frayed old ropes, made for some very interesting moments and some interesting comments. So, I love mountains, and I've been up some tall and tricky ones, and I have grown, but my skills do not put me in the league of mountaineers. I do not consider myself a mountaineer. So sadly, only 9 mountains, 12 years, I just don't do it often enough. Thank you, Lisa.